I will be a servant of God. Mary Slessor grew up in a very poor family in Scotland. Her parents quarreled a lot, and her father was nearly always drunk. She committed her life completely to Jesus and went out alone to Africa to be one of God's servants there. One afternoon, when she was ill in bed, someone came running to tell her that 2 tribes were on the warpath deep in the African jungle. There would be bloodshed by morning if she delayed but a moment. Sick though she was, she arose from her bed. "Do not go," warned a friendly chief. "You will be caught in the jaws of death." But Mary Slessor, though frail and sick, was not to be stopped. Into the jungle she plunged. Shadows of evening gathered about her. Night darkened the narrow path, but on she ran. "Dear God," she prayed, "close the wild beasts' mouths." At midnight she reached a village and asked for someone to go with her the rest of the way, but the chief was rude and would not help. "A woman cannot stop wars between tribes," he sneered. Mary Slessor replied, "You see only the woman. Do not forget the woman's God." And on she went, through the jungle and the darkness, among the hungry beasts. Presently she heard angry shouting and dancing ahead, and came to a party of warriors already on their way to battle. "Stop," she said. "We must sit down and talk about these troubles. There must be no killing." Some of the men laughed. Others were more cunning. "You are tired," they said. "Sleep here. We will waken you at the cock crowing, and then we will talk." She slept, and when she awakened, the men had gone to fight. But Mary Slessor was not to be thwarted. She ran down the path after the men, across streams and up steep hillsides, and presently she overtook them. They were dancing themselves into a frenzy, leaping about and waving spears and clubs. "You are behaving like beardless boys," she told them. "Stop right here and don't disobey me." They stopped. She left them and ran on till she found the warriors from the other village lined up across the path. "My greetings to you," she said, smiling sweetly at the fierce-looking group. The heathen eyed her angrily, waving their spears. She laughed pleasantly and joked a bit with them. Then one of the men stepped forward and knelt before her. "Do you remember me?" he asked. "You came to my hut once and healed me. Now we confess that this is a foolish quarrel, and we want you to stop it." Those great, powerful men wanted that little sick woman to help them stop their fight. Imagine it! And she did stop it. She brought the 2 armies together and stood beside them while they talked through all their troubles. Finally, they agreed which side was wrong, and she made sure they charged the guilty village a fine, instead of killing anyone. That was only one of many fights Mary Slessor stopped in that heathen jungle. After a while, she became known as the queen of that country, the White Queen of Okoyong. It's amazing, isn't it, what one little person can do when she's a servant of God. But you don't have to go to some faraway country to serve God. You can serve him right here. And you don't have to face up to spears and arrows and clubs and guns. Often you can serve God best just by being a good example. I'm thinking of the night I watched the Battle of the Backbenches. The Battle of the Backbenches took place at camp meeting in the big tent, right during a service, and I saw every minute of it. The minister had been preaching a wonderful sermon that even the children were listening to carefully. He was coming to the end of his talk that Friday evening when the battle began. 3 girls and a boy were involved. I don't know the boy's name. He was about 2 years old. The girls were Annie, Beverly, and Connie. To start with, all 4 were outside the tent, just a few feet behind the last bench, listening closely. The preacher was talking about the rich young ruler and how he had been almost perfect. "One thing thou lackest," Jesus had said to him. Then the preacher asked whether there was someone in the audience who felt a lack in his life. Instead of turning away sorrowfully from Jesus, he said, "Won't you take up your cross and follow him? Tell him your decision by coming down to the front right now." That's when the battle began. I saw Beverly whisper to Annie, "Let's go forward." But Annie, with just the slightest shake of her head, stood still. The preacher kept on pleading, and several young people near the front went forward. He suggested that the congregation sing, "Just as I am," and while they were singing the first stanza, Annie and Beverly and Connie and the little boy moved up till they were in the aisle beside the back bench. Connie sat down and took the little boy on her lap. Once again, Beverly whispered to Annie, but Annie didn't even flicker an eyelid. I could see that Beverly was trying to be one of God's servants. She wanted very much to go forward. She longed to let Jesus know she loved him so much that she would serve him all her life. She wanted to gain the victory over every sin. There would be nothing lacking in her life but to walk up that aisle by herself. "Let us pray," the preacher said, and all through the tent heads bowed. I glanced at Beverly. The battle was still raging inside her. Then the prayer was over. Beverly whispered to Connie this time, but Connie shook her head and glanced at the little boy. Why do parents make their daughters look after little brothers in meetings like this? "I can't go down with him," she said. Dear Beverly, she wanted to go to Jesus with her friends. It would have been easier that way, and much more pleasant. But if they didn't want to go, she would go by herself. With a deep breath and a sigh, she walked up to the front, alone. Beverly had won the victory in the battle of the backbenches. She was the first of the 3 girls to do so. But don't give up on the others yet. The battle was still being fought in their hearts, and Beverly had set an example for them to follow. Some people decide quickly that they will follow Jesus. Others take longer. Perhaps for them the battle is harder. Let us be glad for the quick victories, but let us never stop praying for the slow ones. The night was growing late. "One final appeal," the preacher said. "We'll stand while we sing the last stanza, and if any of you feels that lack, come forward then." No sooner was the congregation on their feet than Annie and Connie nodded to each other, smiled, and walked together to the front, taking little brother with them. I was so happy that I felt I had to tell you about it. I'm sure the angels went back to heaven and told Jesus about it, and that he was happy too. For there is always joy in heaven when juniors win the victory in the battle against sin, whether it is fought in the back benches of a tent or anywhere else. Suppose Beverly had not gone forward. It wasn't easy for her to serve God that night alone. It never is. But when you decide to be a servant of God, by the grace of God, you will be a good one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was very useful to you. And once again, if you have any comment or question, just feel free to type it in the comment section. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I wish you all the best.